Welcome to Kung Fu Habit number 2. This is my final video of the night. And in about 5 minutes, 4 minutes, my alarm's going to go off. I'm not going to stop recording. I'm going to stop the alarm. Let's be real. Let me be 1,000 for once. Alright? My crush. Wrong stick. My crush is Chinese. She made a heartfelt video on her Instagram. Maybe I'll do it this way so it actually looks like a Z. To the beautiful ZZ, I hear you. Not just because I'm deadfully in love with her, and I know that in my heart of hearts I want to be with her for the rest of my life, and it's more than a crush for me, but it's never really going to happen in reality unless God makes it happen. I can pray for that. However, this isn't about me. My name is James Williams Jr. If you are on TikTok, you know me as JW Great Wolf. If you are on my Facebook or my Instagram, you know me as James Williams Jr. And I have been deciding for months now to bide myself off as a full-blooded Native American or to continue being mixed. Being true to myself has gotten me absolutely fucking nowhere, but it's kept me grounded as I pull this wedgie out of my ass. We have a problem in this world today, and it is hatred on the most cellular level. And every race has a season of where we go through hate, and unfortunately black people have had it the longest season, and now Asians are going on their horrible ass journey of racism. So let me explain who I am. For those who don't know, for those who are new to Kung Fu Habit number 2. My name is James Williams Jr. My father's mother's mother was a Cherokee Indian. My father's mother was a Cherokee Indian. My father's father was a black man. Lots of my father's side, all of my grandfather's children, look black. The next generation, few of us look black. Some red bones, some Native American looking kids. I fall into that category. My mother's mother is Native American and black. My mother's father is black and white. So I have an equal amount of black and white, and I may have misspoke because we're not actually sure if my grandmother is even black. We know she has Native American in her. We're not sure how much because she was adopted. However, my father's father was black and my mother's father was white and black. Alright, but he looked like a white man. If you see pictures of my mom, she could pass for a white woman. I lost her twice after my father died in a crowd of white people. So I started calling her Premium Blend versus the old white lady. I'm going to try to get through this without crying and being upset. Yes, it's okay for men to cry. So I'm multicultural. I'm part Cherokee, I'm part black, and I'm part white. And there's that alarm. So, here's that thing, man. You know, we are all human. And like Mass Effect, maybe we need the Reapers to come down and attack us so that we understand that skin tone is not who we are. Yeah, it's our ethnicity, yes, it's our race, but it is not who we are. I remember a time where there was no Kung Flu, there was no China virus, there was no Wuhan disaster. Asians were still being attacked, but they weren't being attacked by the astronomical number that is happening now. Now, Asians are being attacked at a rapid rate. Blacks, whites, Hispanics are attacking Asians. I'm not gonna sugarcoat this shit. Excuse me. Let's hope that makeup that I drank doesn't kill me. I'm not gonna sugarcoat this shit. If you are a fucking racist, I'm a racist to you. Because see, it wasn't too long ago. A little over 20 years, actually. Well, this man here was going to college for acting. And I bumped into a friend who's Korean. And I still love that friend to this day. He is my brother. And I was working out, doing Kung Fu with my bow staff. Just working out at PBCC. There's now a basketball court where I was working out. At first, it was just beautiful grass. And this little Korean dude, man, he's bigger than me, so I don't know why he's calling him a little Korean dude. He's come barreling up this hill. And at this time, there were rumors. There were rumors about Asians who didn't like people who weren't Asian doing Kung Fu. And it was underground rumors. Basically, only martial artists really knew about this shit because there was like dojo storms and shit going on. And nobody really got a hold of that in Virginia. It was not something that everybody talked about. I was aware of it because I'm a martial artist and I heard about it through somebody else. And I didn't really believe the shit. And then my boy showed up. And I thought, maybe there's some truth to this shit. Maybe he's one of those Asians that's going around beating up Americans because our Kung Fu is weak. I literally thought that was going to happen. But what happened was totally different. Totally fucking different. And to him, I salute you, brother. So he came up and I was working my staff. And when he showed up, I whipped that bitch around. I was ready. He's like, hey, I'm not here for that. I'm not here for that. I thought you were Chinese. And I got a good fucking laugh out of that. Because I looked him dead in the face. Let's get up close and personal. So I looked at him and I said, how the fuck do you think I'm Chinese? I'm black! I'm mixed with Native American and white, but I am not Chinese. No offense to anybody Chinese that I might have just pissed off at that. So he goes, well, if you're Native American, you're still part Asian. I looked him dead in the face and bust out laughing. I laughed so hard I dropped my stick. And I said, dude, you might not know this, and I was fucking wrong, but Native Americans, man, we are from Atlantis, yo. We can turn into animals after we die. We know Bigfoot, the Thunderbird, Coyote, all of this shit. I said, that shit doesn't come from Asia. You know, when you're wrong, you're wrong. So, be wrong. So the next day, because we were in the same public speaking class that day, and I was like, damn, we're in the same class. So we were fucking connected for life after that, which is why I'm not going to give out his name. He is the son of a preacher, and he will beat your ass. Just so that you know, he does know Taekwondo. Anyway, so it's like, after class, I'm going to prove to you that your Native American ancestors are Asian. And I'm thinking to myself, this guy's off his fucking rocker. We're not fucking Asian. Yeah, I'm just like out in the bush on that one. So we go to the library and we get all these fucking books, and sure as fuck, Native Americans are fucking Asian. I thought we were special. We just got tired of being over there in Asia and just said, fuck it, we're gonna cross this mysterious white chunk of land and find a new place. Which is basically what happened. Eskimos spawned the rest of the Native Americans, whether y'all want to believe that or not. Eskimos were first to touch this soil. Even though America was technically discovered by a Chinese man before it was discovered by anybody else, the Eskimos were there before the Chinese man, I think. I'm not going to swear that. But anyway, the Chinese guy got lost. The Eskimos actually walked there. And some of them kept walking so far that they went back into the high, frosty areas of the North Pole, Iceland, and even Russia. So if you have Asians in Russia, now you know why. Some of them went in a different path versus the barren straits. So I'm reading all these books, and I'm like, motherfucker. So then I start having these flashbacks, alright? Because at first, I'll be honest, I didn't know I was part of Native American until the 5th grade. When Miss Conrad, God rest her soul, because I don't think it's possible for her to still be alive, and if she is, may God bless you, because you would be at least 120 by now. Because it's been a long time since I've been in the 5th grade. And she was kind of old then. So, and to her descendants, thank you. Your grandmother was a blessing. Anyway, Miss Conrad's the one that pointed out that I was part Native American. Miss Conrad got my ass beat by my mom over 30 bars of Dow soap that I tried to carve into canoes. Back to the story at hand. We read these books, and I'm thinking to myself, so this is why Asian people look at me funny. They don't know what the fuck I am. Well, newsflash, neither do I. So, before I had met my bro, I had been in class with 2 Vietnamese people and a Mexican. And for you who are Mexican, if you are from Aztec, Mayan, Incan, and the Amazon River, and the lost tribe that I can't pronounce, guess what? You're fucking Asian too. So stop hating on Asians if you are biologically Mexican. If you are a descendant of a Mexican, your ass is a Native American, which means you are also Asian. Fucked me up when I found out, so now I'm gonna fuck you up. Now, this is where the fun part comes in, because there was a Mexican girl in that class who looked Chinese. And I had to do a report on Japan. And then when I found anybody who was Japanese, I had to go and ask every person who was Asian in that room before I could do my report. Because some of the things that I was going to say about Japan was not very becoming. And so the 2 guys from Vietnam was like, go for it, brother. And the guy from Korea was like, go for it. Not the guy from Korea that I was just talking about, but another guy. And then the girl who happened to be fucking from Mexico, who looked Chinese, she hit me with, you say whatever the fuck you want about Japan, because you look more Chinese than I do. And I went on and did my report, and I got a B+. Now, as time would go on, I met a few Filipinos, I met a few Koreans, I met a few Chinese people, all people who would become my friend. All people who would explain to me certain things about Asian cultures, not including the martial arts that I was already doing. Hi, Hannah, and the other Hannah. Both of them I had crushes on, and unfortunately, both of them had boyfriends at the time. Hi, Joe, who tried to set me up with his sister Hannah, who had a boyfriend. I remember you. Anyway, moving on. So, I have a lot of Asian friends. Made a couple of movies with some. One in particular movie, my first movie, Fallen Dragons. Me and Jay Diz. We teamed up with Eric. We teamed up with Adrian. We teamed up with Philip. I teamed up with the Bowie sisters, and I will be able to make that movie as soon as I can get my hard drive on this thing loaded up. So next weekend, I'm going to be busy as fuck. I'll pick that up later. And that one over there. There's a lot of things wrong with this world. When I met my Asian friends, the only thing I ever got from them was the same shit that I've gotten from everyone else. What are you mixed with? And I was like, I'm mixed with black and white. What are you mixed with? Oh, well, I'm also Native American. It's like, oh, there we go. Now we see it. And I'm like, what the fuck are y'all talking about? Well, Native Americans are biologically Asian. Which explained a lot when Joan Chen played a Native American and when Vivian Wu played a Native American. Because I was like, Vivian Wu and Joan Chen are Chinese, but they both played Native Americans. Vivian Wu played a Native American in a Tales from the Crypt episode where she played Little Drum Beater. Vivian Wu played a Native American when she played on a Steven Seagal movie on Deadly Ground, which is the only reason why I went to watch that, because, you know, Steven Seagal. I'm not that big of a fan of his, but I love some Joan Chen. Really love some Joan Chen. But she's married. Anyway, moving on. I love my crush more than I love Joan Chen and Vivian Wu. And Kelly Hu. So, when people hate people of races because of their race, I feel that shit. Understand, I feel that shit. If you are black and you hate a Native American, I feel that shit. If you are Native American and you hate a black person, I feel that shit. If you are white and you hate a black person or a Native American person or another white person because of who they are biologically, which they cannot help, I feel that shit. Let's be honest, when you look in the mirror, lots of us look in the mirror and say, damn, you know, I'm in love with this white girl. If I was white, I could have her. No. If you were white, you could have her if she liked white men. But you not taking a chance because you're a black man not talking to this white lady, you won't know until you try. Now, my situation with ZZ is a whole different ball game because one, I'm shaking in my boots. Two, I don't think that I'm her type. But three, I won't know until I try, which is why I keep revealing her name on these things. You know, and that's why I'll follow her until the end of time, and if I'm lucky, I can marry her instead of buying her products and looking at them and wishing that I was her husband, which is currently the situation. You know, we as humans, we love people. We have preferences. We live different lifestyles. I'm 1,000% a straight man. I have nothing against the Alphabet Squad, but I am not going to date in the Alphabet Squad. Now, there are a few exceptions of the Alphabet Squad that I am willing to bend for. I am not willing to bend over for you if you are transgender. Do not take that shit the wrong way. If you are a bisexual woman and you are all woman, I don't have a problem with that. If you are a lesbian and you are all woman, I don't have a problem with that. And when I say all woman, I am not offending on purpose transgender females that were once males. I'm just not going to date you. Alright? And be honest, because I'm going to be honest. I don't hate y'all. It's just that you're not for me. There's something in here that like glitches, nasty glitches. And I'm sorry for that. But I'm going to be honest about it. Alright? I'm not going to sit here and lie and say, yeah, I'm willing to do that. No, I'm not. I'm not. I'm really not. I don't lie to people. I'm not going to lie to people, and I don't want to be lied to. Understand how that works? Now, plus there's a lot of things in the Alphabet Squad that I just don't understand, and it's just not meant for me to understand. It's meant for me to respect you, but it's not meant for me to understand every aspect of your life. Now, for us so-called normal people, men who date women, women who date men, I'm in that category. Alright? Am I right for being in that category? Fuck if I know. But that's what I like. And yeah, I have a strong affinity for Asian women. I love mixed women because I'm mixed. But I have a strong affinity for Asian women. I don't turn away white women or black women, but I'm just not going to marry them. Understand? Now, in my defense, I've had some bad experiences. And no, not all women are the same regardless of their color and ethnicity. But I've had some bad experiences, and almost dying twice by having someone hold a gun to your head is kind of not the experience that I'm trying to go through again when I was fucking 14 and he was fucking 24. Yeah, I haven't dated a black girl since that shit. Alright? So you can get mad at me and put everything you want in the comments that you want if you are a black female and I pissed you off. Well, had the black female I had been dating not been cheating on me with a college kid while we were 14, I might view things a little differently. But, yeah, I'm going to be nice. I'm not going to say anything else. I'm going to keep that thought to myself because honesty fucking hurts people. But I'm going to be honest about everything else from here out. See, the thing about humans is that we don't want to be humane. We stopped being humane when the red-headed step-troll in charge became our president. People decided that it was okay to say racist shit. Even if you're not a racist, a lot of people who aren't racist agreed with this oxymoron and decided, hey, I'm going to talk about Asian people. I'm going to call a lady in Congress Pocahontas. And this is the part where I piss you Trump supporters off if you're here. I'm sorry. Let me apologize to you now. I've made a video about this before because I am part Native American. And I have been called Chief for 3 years in a row. So you can imagine that back in 1993 when I was being called Chief and the guy that you guys supported was in California and telling a commission that these Native Americans don't have the right to have a casino on their land. Stop before you start saying anything else. Who the fuck gave us permission to land on their land and take it from them? Yeah, Native Americans were fighting each other over territory. I got it. I know this. I am part of them. I know that Cherokee, Iroquois, Seminole, Creek, all of them became united, but most of them fought over land, over women, over meat, over fucking buffalo herds, everything. They're not saints, but this was their country. I exist because of slavery. I exist possibly because of a few rapes, but I am owning that shit. I have white ancestors, but they weren't the only ones who were sinning and raping people and shit either. Understand that every citizen in the world comes from people who are either racist, sexist, or just all out fucking assholes. And if you don't want to admit that, then you need to look in the mirror because you have a bias. I have a bias. I have a bias against Trump. But my bias started in 1993 with, they don't look like Indians to me. Let me explain why I have a bias on that. Because I once applied for a job with a lady who was from Africa. And I marked down black. And she looked at me like I'm looking at you. And she asked me if I'm sure. Now, Virginia is a right to fire state, which means it's a right to work state, which means they can fire you for any given purpose. And if lying on your application is not a good enough reason to fire you, then one of my friends who was a convict who didn't put it on his application got fired for nothing. So I put on the application black. And she said, why? And I said, because my birth certificate says black. And she said, I don't see black in you. And I said, I don't see how you don't. My skin tone is brown. And she goes, well, you could have been Hawaiian. You could have been Mexican. And I said, yeah, I thank you, but I am not. My birth certificate says black, and I don't want to get fired for lying on my application, so I'm going to put black. She said, why don't you put other? I said, because I'm not other. My birth certificate says black. My driver's license says black. So if I put other, you have a right to fire me. I'm not going to give you that satisfaction. So I don't deny my blackness. Just remember that. I am mixed. But legally, I am black. However, how unblack I look to people has worked for me and against me at the same time. You want to talk about hatred? You want to talk about hating people for the one thing that they don't get a fucking choice in? Because you're not flying around in heaven. You're floating around in Sperm City. Your soul comes from heaven. But you don't get a choice in the family that God decides to body slam your ass into. Alright? I had it my way, I'd have been full-blooded Cherokee, no questions asked. But I didn't have it my way. Ada didn't stay on the reservation. She left. Clara Bay didn't return to the reservation. She met my grandfather, Robert Henry. Or Robert Lee. Yeah, I think it's Robert Lee. Robert Henry's my uncle. But anyway, she met my grandfather, Robert, and had some babies by him. Out popped my dad. My dad came around to Charlottesville. My Uncle Bruce and my Uncle Robert. They dated my mom and her two cousins. Possibly one of her sisters. Boop! Here I am. Then the divorce happened. And all through school with us. You're not a real black person. You're a half-breed. From kindergarten to college. You're a half-breed. You're a half-breed. So again, my bias with Mr. Trump was, they don't look like Indians to me. Oh yeah, I forgot. Then there's that whole Pocahontas thing that no one seems to give a flying fuck about when he did that shit in front of fucking Navajo code talkers. Oh yeah, and then there was that Standing Rock shit where he says, if I become the president, I'm not going to touch Standing Rock. Well, Obama had certified protected Standing Rock in on Trump's first day in. He certified got rid of that protection for Standing Rock, and the Keystone Pipeline was a go. And the first person to stand up for those Native Americans that was famous was a white girl from the movie Insurgent, whose name I don't know, but I salute you, beautiful girl, because you did the one thing that other people should have been doing, especially Native American actors. That part pisses me off. Any Native American that was following Trump, shame on you. Any Asian that was following Trump, shame on you. Because he is the cause of this shit. Which is why I said in an earlier video that when we're going around like this, see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil, is why we have evil. Because the humanity, the simple fact is this. Our ex-president started that shit with the Kung Flu virus, the Wuhan disaster, or what the hell was the other one? Kung Flu, Wuhan disaster, the Chinese virus, you name it. And he even did a video where he started picking that shit up. Now, Olivia Munn had a friend who got thrown damn near 50 feet after getting assaulted. There was an old lady just a week or two ago who beat up a white dude with a stick after he stole her in the fucking eye. And you think I don't have the right to be a little mad about the red-headed step-trolling charge that kind of caused this problem, because I have Asian friends. My crush, who I am deadly in love with and may never get the chance to be with, but I'm never going to say never, because miracles can happen. And I'm praying for that miracle so that ZZ and I can become one. I'm pretty mad. You know, I've watched a lot of black people attack Asian people. That pissed me the fuck off. I was going to make 2 videos. I'm just going to keep going until I can't. I watched a lot of white people attack Asians. Now, I'm not going to say that there aren't any Asians that are prejudiced. I'm not going to say that. I know a couple. I watched a video with an Asian guy assaulting a black rapper in Arizona. Just cussing them out and calling them all kinds of N-words. That hurt my feelings. I'm like, if anybody should not be Asian, should not be racist, should be Asian people. Because they had it just as bad as Native Americans and blacks when they got here. But I'm sure history left you guys out about the railroads. Asians helped build the railroads. Native Americans are Asian and they helped build the railroads. And in case you guys forgot, this land was their land before the song "This Land Is Your Land, This Land Is My Land" came the fuck out. From California to the New York Islands. But they left off the part about the genocide that came in between the middle. How Native Americans had to get this chopped off. How Native Americans had to have a choice. Live on the reservation, step off and get killed, or live off the reservation and be indoctrinated and become a white person with a white name, i.e. my grandfather's name was something because he was black and white, i.e. my other grandfather's name was Robert something, and then let's talk about my great-grandmother whose last name was Wallace, but she was Cherokee. And you want to tell me how the fuck that happens? Oh, I forgot. They also listed her as mulatto. Yeah, but she was Cherokee. They listed her as mulatto. So I'm like, okay, well, what the fuck does that mean? And you tell me, how in the fuck can you steal somebody's identity in a country that was theirs until 1924? They didn't even have fucking rights. So, you want to talk about hatred. Sometimes we gotta look in the mirror to find out where hatred comes from. Sometimes we gotta look in the mirror to address the hatred that we have for others because we just don't want to do such a thing. But why? Because of fear. Because of contempt. I have a lot of fucking Asian friends. My crush is a very beautiful Asian woman, and I want to marry her with every fiber of my being. Some of my heroes are Asian. But there is a lot of fucking Asian hate. I watched a damn near cried when I seen some black guys attack an old Asian man over some fucking cans. It made me ashamed to be black. They wouldn't let it. But the worst part of watching that video was watching other black people stand by and do nothing. Why y'all ain't telling me I still had makeup on? I watched these black people stand by and watch this other black man with a fucking blind man stick swing at an Asian man who just wanted to collect cans. Just collect cans. Like black people, we collect cans. And we turn them in and we get that money. Asian people do it too. See, a lot of people don't understand that Asian people do the same thing as every other American person in this goddamn country. Blacks, whites, whatever. Everybody that's old school. Everybody who's generation baby boomer versus me who's generation X. They collect cans. My stepfather collected cans. My sister and I one time went around like the bulk of Charlottesville and collected cans. We had like 20 fucking bags of cans. Like that big black bag right there. It was full of cans. We got fucking $3 for that shit. I'm sorry. It's kind of funny as fuck that you put like 2 days and 3 hours into this shit. Because she was off like on a Friday. And I think I was like, let's see, she was driving. She's 3 years older. I think I wasn't working. Let's see, 14, 15, 16. So she was 16 and I was like 13.
And so we driving around and we're going to parks and shit in her little Ford fucking Escort, and we're collecting cans. We're collecting cans, like we're like collecting mad cans. She's driving, I'm collecting the cans. The goddamn back seat is loaded with bags that big, full of cans. And we drove it over to the can center. We didn't even get enough money for gas, man. We got $3 fucking. And I mean, these bags was loaded to the fucking brim. We pushed the glad bags as far as they could go. And the car was loaded. I know we had about 7 bags. At least 7 bags. Maybe more. But I know they were full. We got $3. 3 whole fucking dollars. So they gave her the money because I was young, and I was like, alright, we're going to go get the money. I'll take the cans, and you just go get the money. So they put the cans, they dumped all the cans on the scale, they weighed the cans. And we got $3 fucking. $3 fucking. Mind you, we put in 2 days of work and some change. And might have been 3 days of work. We worked a lot to get these goddamn cans. And we got nothing. So trust me when I tell you guys, you know, Asian people collect cans too. You know, they probably get more than we do because people just don't see them doing shit. See, Asian people do a lot of shit in secret. I didn't know Asian people went hiking until I took my ex to Humpback Rock. And we bumped into like a fuck ton of Asian people on Humpback Rock. I was like, I didn't even know we had this many Asian people in Virginia. And sure as fuck, we were on Humpback Rock with a fuck ton of Asians. And they were looking at me funny, but they weren't looking at my ex-fiance funny at all. And I'm like, okay, why the fuck are they looking at me? Dummy, because you look mixed to them. They might think you're Hawaiian or something, which they probably did. And most Asian people who see me do approach me and ask me if I'm Hawaiian or Samoan or some islander that has something to do with Asians, and I just tell them, hell no, I'm part Native American. And it's like, oh, okay. And then it's like, you know, Native Americans are part Asian, right? You have no idea how many Asian people have told me that shit. Anyway, the thing about this whole video was that, you know, I have watched black people attack Asians. And I have been jumped on by black people about how much I have defended Asians from blacks. And it's like, well, you're just secretly one of them anyway. It's like, well, I'm a human being. I have compassion. I do kung fu, so I do have an Asian cultural thing, you know, because I've been doing martial arts since I was 7 years old. You know, so kung fu and Asian things are a part of my life. But the fact that I have a fuck ton of Asian friends, which also became some of their friends, you know, shit happens. I watched a young Asian girl when this shit first kicked off get attacked by a black guy on a train. But this was before coronavirus became a thing. And I sit there and I couldn't figure it out because this was in New York. I think she was on the L train. And she was on the train and she wasn't bothering anybody. She was in a yellow coat. And the black guy said something to her. And she said something to him. And then he said something to her. And when they got off the train, he got off the train. He could have stayed on the train and kept going. No. So he said something to her. And he threw his drink at her. He missed. And then she flying dragon kicked the shit out of him. He fell. But she also fell. He got up and he tried to do something else to her. And then he tried to run. Well, she grabbed him by the backpack, but then she fell again, and then he got away. Now, I'm probably not saying this the whole way through, because whoever was filming it, you could only see part of what the fuck was going on. But the fact that this is one of the attacks that started the ball. I started looking around, and I started finding more attacks, and then the attacks only got worse as President Trump started talking about the Kung Fu virus and started going all in on Asian this and Asian that and all this other shit. And now, 3 or 4 months out of office, we've had at least 10 attacks on elderly Asian people. One attack in New York, they had an Asian woman attacked by 4 black girls on a bus. The Asian woman received a broken rib and a couple of abrasions by 4 young black women. That hurt my feelings and it made me ashamed to be black. Then, we had another attack right off the bus where some white dudes tried to set a young Asian woman or an old Asian woman on fire in New York. Then we had the 2 incidences on the train where one black guy decides he's going to spray an Asian dude with fucking Febreze.
And another day I did the same goddamn thing. Then we have the case in Seattle, I think, or somewhere out west, where there's a young man with a can of Febreze chasing an elderly Chinese woman. And I was getting pissed. Because I sit there and said, I wouldn't want anybody to do that to my grandmother. And had I been around to see that in that city, that dude would have been in the hospital. Everything broken. And I'd have just had to go to jail for that shit, so be it. But I'd have been well within my rights for defending a woman who looked like my grandmother on my dad's side. I was real close with my great-grandmother on my dad's side. Before she died, we talked a lot about Native American stuff. Unfortunately, a lot of that shit is locked so deep in here that I can't remember everything. But one of the things she said that held close to me till this day, and she looked at me when I was a little kid, she said, had the Native Americans stopped fighting each other in time and started working together and did what the women said, which was swim out to the boats, poke holes in them, because gunpowder can't fire once it's wet, America would be a whole different place. America would be a whole different place. We might be a third world country, but we'd be a whole different place. And think about that shit all the time. Every time that Trump came on and called Elizabeth Warren Pocahontas, I remember my great-grandmother Ada. Every time that he had said something about the Chinese virus, I remember my great-grandmother Ada. And every fucking time that he has said something in a slick racial manner that everyone has just turned a blind eye to, I remember my great-grandmother Ada, and how she told me that her and her brother John couldn't go to certain schools because they weren't black and they weren't white. They had to run through the woods in the moccasins and shit. I remember my great-grandmother Ada. Every time I turn on the news now, I hear about another Asian attack. And I worry for my crush. I worry for my friends that are Asian. Because there are a lot of racist people who don't know the difference between a Chinese person, a Japanese person, a person from Laos, a person from Vietnam, North or South Korea, North or South Vietnam, Tibet, Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, Guam, Tahiti, natives of Hawaii. And every time I think about these people who have done nothing but because somebody is a racist son of a bitch, they can't tell one race from the other. And just decide, hey, fuck it, you look Chinese, I'm just going to go ahead and beat your ass. I'm going to beat you with this stick because you look Chinese. I don't look Chinese. Bring it on, motherfuckers. Bring it the fuck on. Maybe from a distance I might look Filipino. Maybe from a distance I might look Mexican. Maybe up close and personal, maybe you might need your eyes checked, and maybe I look Asian to you. But I am an amalgamation of Cherokee Indian, black and white, and I am ready to fight for what is right. Hatred towards people because of their ethnicity, because of their gender, because of their race. The two things on earth that no one got a chance to change. Because as I was saying before I jumped off track, you don't get to ask the good Lord, the Creator, Jehovah. I don't know what Christians call God. So you don't get to ask God while you're up there. You don't get to pick your family. You don't get to choose. You don't get to say, hey, God, I want to be a beautiful Asian girl in that rich family right there. And God might crack a smile and say, boom, you're a beautiful Asian girl, but you're not in that family. You're in that poor fucking family. But you will be loved and you will be treated as a family member, and you will be equally well treated, just as good as your brother. Your brother will be older and he will look out for you. He will probably beat up a few boyfriends that will not be good for you. But he's going to keep you out of trouble and he will keep you safe. Your family's going to do good things, but you're going to be poor while you're doing those good things. You were poor in your last life. You're going to be a rich Asian girl. You're going to befriend that poor Asian girl, and you're going to stay best friends forever, and you're going to live happily together as girlfriends. Y'all don't take that out of context. They're both going to have husbands, but they're going to be girlfriends. They're going to be best friends. They're going to be like sisters, because that rich girl's going to marry her poor-ass brother. And they're going to do great things. And now someone else over here is like, you were black in a whole life, and your life was taken when you were 13 by some jackass because you whistled at a white lady. I'm going to reincarnate you into a very wealthy white man, but you're going to do great things. You're going to spread your love around, and you're going to have great children who are going to be mixed with black ladies from the family in which you used to belong to, but because you never got to live your life because my creations took your life, I'm going to grant you a new life, a better life, and you are going to teach the world that racism is not a thing that they should live in. That was a reference to Emmett Till, in case y'all didn't know. Then they're going to look at somebody who was rich, who was racist, and he's going to look at you and he's going to say, you are a rich, racist motherfucker. I got two options. I can send you to hell and let you burn for eternity, or I can reincarnate you into a poor black man so that you know how it feels to be treated like you treated those people. Boom! I'm not sending you to hell. I'm going to let you come up, so when you understand what you've done to other people because of your hatred towards them, because of the one thing that they didn't get a choice, because I am God and I say where you're going to go. You don't tell God what you want to be. God decides that shit for you. And you deal with the cards that you've been held. And not only am I going to make you a black man, I'm going to make you a gay black man. So I'm going to fuck you twice. Because of all the black people whose lives you've killed and destroyed, and crosses that you burnt in their house. But because you were a faithful person, you asked for forgiveness, I gave it to you. But I'm also going to punish you as sentencing for all the things that you've done to people in your past life. I'm going to give you a new life. I'm not going to let you sit at the kingdom of heaven until you learn your fucking lesson. So boom, I'm going to make you a poor, black, gay man. But you're going to turn your life around. Nothing bad's going to happen to you, because you're going to understand that I got you. And the reason why I'm making you live this life is the sentence for what you've done to that poor black man that you killed, to that poor black woman that you raped, because of all the things that you've done. Because when you die, you don't get a choice. If God gives you a second chance at life, you don't get a choice in your reincarnation of who you get to come back as. Of course, unless you're the crow. You just get to come back as yourself, and you get to kill the people that fucked you up for 3 days. I had to throw that in. All hell Brandon Lee. As I come to an end of this video, as I pick up these cups, these bottles, these things that I've done, so I can get ready to go jump in the shower, wash my hair, and wash out the superhero stink. Understand that your life is a gift. Understand that you have privileges that we pass off as rights. But you do not have the right to hate someone for the two things that they can never change. Okay, the one thing that you can never change. I can change on a piece of paper all day. I can get a new identity and say, I'm Chinese today. And I can go pay $1,000 to the Social Security place and get my name and ID changed, and I can be Chinese. Yeah, like that's gotta fucking work with all this. But if I said I want to be Hawaiian or Samoan, yeah, that you can probably see. But a black person can't really do that. Not really. Not a full black person who doesn't have my hair, who doesn't have my skin tone, my true skin tone, who doesn't have the means to do that. A white person can change their Caucasian identity and say, if I wanted to be Scottish when I'm actually Irish, I can do that because I'm white. But I can't change my gender, and I can't change my skin tone. I can get in a tanning bed and darken up a bit and say I'm an Italian. It's acceptable. But an Asian person, they can have that eyelid thing done, and they can look white and be white But the problem is they're never going to be white because they're not going to produce white children. They're going to produce Asian children, just like black people are going to produce black children. But if you mix the races, you're going to produce a child like me that is mixed and proud. Might not be able to fit in with white kids or black kids. Might be called a half-breed from grade school to kindergarten, from kindergarten to college. Might be bullied a lot. Worth it. Because you're going to teach your child how to love, respect, and be honorable. Which is what we apparently lack. We lack humanity. We lack the ability to see other people suffering. Because we choose not to. We choose to go with the in crowd versus being where we should be. We choose to do everything that we shouldn't do versus what we should do. We choose to not acknowledge our Asian friends that are getting beat up, fucked up, mugged, jerked around, thrown across the room, and we choose to ignore that shit because we choose to follow a man who didn't want to acknowledge that he started that shit. And for those poor rioters that are sitting in jail and the ones on the run who supported this asshole that caused this whole clusterfuck of the Chinese virus and the Kung Fu virus and the Wuhan disaster and whatever other fucking nickname that he started off with, he's not going to save you. So is it worth it? Is it worth it to sit in jail for 15 years because you committed a fucking serious federal crime against the fucking federal government? Is it worth it? When you're sitting in jail and you're probably watching this because you're probably going to help me get famous, ask yourself, was it worth it? To the female soldier that died, I'm pretty sure her family's not happy that she's dead because she was misled and decided to follow a man who was racist and decided to lead her down a rabbit hole that she couldn't come back from, and then she winds up getting shot by police officers. Again, was it worth it? Is it worth having your fellow human beings be degraded and be destroyed and get hurt and set on fire because of the one thing that they can't change? Their race. But we can change. I want to end this on we can change. We can be human. We can give our humanity back to each other. And above all else, we can try. We can stop looking at people and seeing skin tone. We can stop looking at people and seeing, oh, well, your eyes are slanted, so I'm going to have to fuck you up because you're Chinese. Even though this person has probably never been to China. They could be Chinese biologically, but never been to China. And we racist motherfuckers are going to decide to do some dumb shit to them. Well, I'm part Cherokee and I've never been to the reservation. I don't know reservation life. I know of it because of history books. I know of it because of people that I've met from reservations who told me that I was not pure blood and that I could not date the chieftain's daughter. Which goes back to my first original statement. There's racism in every race of human beings. And the less that you acknowledge it, the more that it grows. Racism is a virus that we can stop. But we don't choose to do that. There's never been a council of human beings that all decided, let's just sit down and talk this shit out. Because just like you and me, I like taking showers. Everyone likes taking showers. No one wants to stink. I like brushing my teeth. No one wants to have yellow teeth. Now even the poor people who can't afford it have a cell phone better than mine. They like taking showers. Everybody who lives wants to live happily and peacefully. And our race, our human race, and our races of people, ethnicities, nationalities, should not affect how we treat each other in this fucking world. And if you stop raising racist people, then there won't be racism. If you teach your children how to accept someone like me because I'm mixed at school, you can't play with us because you're a half-breed. You're not really white. You can't hang with us. You're not really black. You can't hang with us. You're not pure blood. You can't hang with us. Humanity. Knee to the face on that. Because we're not being human. We're not being humane. We're just looking at people like, oh, well, we're just going to fuck you up because we don't like what you are. We're not giving you an excuse. Not that you have one. But you have to understand one or two things.
One, if you're hating me because I'm mixed, I didn't get a choice in it. I didn't get to say, hey God, I want to be full-blooded Cherokee. No, I didn't get that choice. I would love to have been full-blooded Cherokee. I didn't get the chance to say, hey God, maybe I just want to be black. Nope, didn't get that choice. Hey God, maybe I want to be white. Nope, didn't get that choice. And neither did any of you. But what we do have is a chance to be humane in our humanity. So please, be humane in your humanity. Thanks for watching.